In the heart of a vast, untouched forest, a humble woodcutter lived with his wife in a small, weathered hut. His life was simple yet content, for he found solace in the towering trees that surrounded him, their rustling leaves whispering secrets of the past. The woodcutter earned his livelihood by cutting wood and selling it in the nearest town. Though he and his wife had little, they never complained, finding joy in each other's company and the serenity of nature. One fateful afternoon, the king of the land ventured deep into the woods for a hunting expedition. He pursued his prey relentlessly, unaware of how far he had strayed from his men. Exhausted and parched, the king stumbled upon the woodcutter's modest dwelling. Sensing the king's dire state, the woodcutter and his wife immediately fetched a jug of cool, refreshing water from a nearby stream. The king drank eagerly, the water soothing his throat and revitalizing his spirit. Deeply moved by the couple's kindness, the king wiped his mouth and said, "Oh, kind water giver, you have shown me great hospitality in my moment of need. I am grateful. Visit my capital one day, and I shall reward you handsomely." The woodcutter, though humbled by the king's words, merely nodded. "Very well, my lord." Years passed, and the memory of that encounter began to fade. The woodcutter continued his laborious life, chopping trees and selling wood, while the king ruled his kingdom with wisdom and might. However, fate had plans yet to unfold. One day, the woodcutter, now growing weary with age, decided it was time to visit the capital and see if the king still remembered him. With nothing but a walking stick and hope in his heart, he journeyed for days until he reached the grand gates of the city. The guards, skeptical of the ragged traveler's claim, hesitated, but the moment they informed the king of a woodcutter who had once offered him water, the king's face lit up with recognition. "Bring him to me at once," he commanded. The woodcutter was ushered into the grand hall, where the king sat upon his golden throne. The sight of the old woodcutter, still humble yet filled with dignity, filled the king with joy. He embraced the man warmly and made him sit beside him, pondering how best to reward him. After much contemplation, the king clapped his hands, and a royal attendant stepped forward. "I shall grant you a gift worthy of your kindness," the king declared. "A vast grove of the finest sandalwood trees in my kingdom is now yours." The woodcutter bowed deeply, his heart swelling with gratitude. To him, this was a dream beyond imagination. With this grove, he thought he would never have to struggle again. The trees would provide him with ample wood to make charcoal, and he could sell it for a good price. Eagerly, he began his work, cutting down the sandalwood trees, burning them into coal, and selling them in the market. The days turned into months, and the once lush grove transformed into a barren wasteland. Piles of blackened coal replaced the fragrant trees that once stood proudly, their golden aroma lost to the flames. Only a handful of trees remained, offering him shade as he continued his routine. One day, the king, curious to see how the woodcutter was faring, decided to visit the grove. As he approached, he noticed thick smoke billowing into the sky. The scent of burning wood filled his nostrils, but instead of the expected sweet fragrance of sandalwood, it carried the acrid stench of charred remains. Upon arrival, he saw the woodcutter standing amidst the devastation, his hands blackened with soot. The king's heart sank. "What have you done, my friend?" he asked, his voice heavy with sorrow. The woodcutter, unaware of the true value of the gift he had received, smiled and replied, "Your Majesty, with your kindness, my life has been comfortable. I have made a living selling charcoal, but now only a few trees remain. If you would grant me another grove, I could sustain myself for the rest of my life." The king sighed, understanding the woodcutter's folly. "My dear friend, you have turned a treasure into dust. You have burned what was priceless for something ordinary, but it is not too late." The king then ordered his men to cut a piece of sandalwood and take it to the market. The woodcutter watched as people marveled at its scent and beauty. To his astonishment, the small piece fetched him 300 rupees, many times more than what he had earned from the coal. Tears welled in his eyes as realization struck. He had wasted a precious gift in ignorance. Falling at the king's feet, he wept, "I have been blind. I turned gold into ashes, unaware of its true worth." The king placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "This sandalwood grove is like your life. Each tree is a breath, a moment of time. Too often, we burn away our moments in anger, jealousy, greed, and trivial pursuits, just as we burn these trees into coal. But it is not too late. The trees that remain can be nurtured to grow again." The woodcutter listened intently, his heart filled with newfound wisdom. He vowed to never waste another breath on meaningless pursuits. From that day on, he sold sandalwood instead of burning it and shared his story with others, teaching them the true value of life and the importance of using time wisely. And so, the tale of the woodcutter and the king became a legend, a lesson that echoed through generations. Treasure every moment, for once it is turned to ashes, it can never be regained.